Hello, it's me, Galen. Galen's got Parkinson's. I'm going to paint a couple of spooky spiders. Whoa. I'll show you I've got 2 plastic spiders. Got a big bottle of water. I've got 3 brushes. They're the only 3 I'm going to use. And you can see they're not in great nick. That white one's probably the best one if you're looking at neatness, but that's what I've got. And then I've got a random selection of paint, and I'm using all browns and brown shades and tones because spiders where I live down here in Devon tend to be brown. You could do any colour you like. You could look at real spiders and paint fancy ones with red bits on, or fantasy spiders. Do what you want. Because my plan was to just paint a spider, really, and to show you that it doesn't have to be an expensive spider model, and you don't have to be the world's greatest painter. And often, when things go wrong, that's when they get exciting. So, before I took the dog out for a walk, I thought, what I'll do, I'll prime them cleverly, give them a primer. So, I got my primer. There you go. And if you look at the top of my primer, you'll see what happened. It's all gone corroded and grotty, and it all came out in little splutters. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to go and get some proper primer. And I thought, no, I'm not, because this is what happens in the real world. Sometimes you think, I'm going to do this, and then you can't because you have a crisis. So I'm not doing that. So no. So the first thing I'm going to do, I've left the splittly primer on. It's come on very badly. There you go. And I'm going to now ink the whole thing with Citadel Ragland Flesh shade. I like this. It's probably my favourite ink. I don't use it because it's Citadel. I use it because I like it. I'm going to use a big brush. I'm going to get lots of water on my brush. When I used to be an art teacher, I used to say to the kids, like, if you're using watercolour, it's called watercolour for a reason, because it's made with water. So if you get water on your brush before you start oiking it in any paint, you keep more control. You don't get thick blobs, and it's easier to do several thin layers than it is to do one horrible big blob, and then you can't get it off again afterwards. So keep the spider where you can see it. Now, I'm not trying to cover the spider just as well. Yeah, I hear you shout. I'm not. What I'm hoping is some of this stuff will give me some definition, and also it'll go into places that are hard to reach, so that later on when I miss them it won't matter, because at least they've had something on them. There we go. It'll do. Right, it'll do. Finished him. Big spider. You have to bear with me with the shakings. Oh, blue wool all over it for some. I don't know where that's come from. I don't own anything with blue wool. But I like, because I think, like, I tend to tell myself stories when I'm painting, and this spiders are natural, aren't they? They're a thing. They're a real thing. Real things are not symmetrical. They're not perfect. I know somebody's going to shout, yes, some are. Yeah, all right, clever clogs. Some are. But it's a sort of scattered randomness. And the other thing, this is a fantasy figure. If you compare to the size of my figures, this is a big lad. This is a big spider. My missus is frightened of little teeny weeny spiders that you can hardly see. She tells me there's a spider in the bathroom, and I go in expecting to find Shelob. I can't even see it. I just tell her I've sorted it out. She don't notice. Or I blow on them and they disappear. So that's him done. It's done now. I'm going to dry my brush on me. I don't need to show you paper towel. I've got some paper towel, just in case you don't know what that is. So, there he is. Now, I could do a number of things here. I could have a cup of tea and listen to a bit of music, wait for him to dry. But I'm not going to do that because you're here. So I'm going to bash on. Carry on regardless. Now, I quite like where this ink's pooling, you see. So I don't want to mess with that really in an ideal world. Some people like sort of use a brush and dab it off and things like that. But I like it. I like that pooling effect. If you paint, say if you've got a leather cloak and you paint really thick wash of ink on it, it turns all the creases into, it's almost like some of them are dusty and some are dirty. And now as I'm looking at the figure, I'm noticing he's got little eyes up here and horns. And so what was ostensibly just a little plastic throwaway type toy spider has become rather more interesting. It's given me something to think about. Now, obviously, I can't dry brush or anything on top of a wet spider. That would be madness. But it's interesting now to have a look and see all the hair is obvious now on the top because of the ink. The legs, I think, I quite like that sort of almost skeletal look. So what I'm going to do, while it's still wet and while the ink's drying, I'm going to go to, normally I'd do a sort of my darkest brown and I put them all in order, in colour, order of colour. So I would think that's probably lighter than that, that's lighter than that. That's maybe the lightest of all, that's the ink. But now I'm looking at those legs, I'm thinking that they are looking quite sort of bony. I like them. I'm just thinking. See, thinking's good. You should always have a think. Let's have a crack at this. What's this? Can't even read it. Morn Fang Brown. All right. Don't know what it is. I'll have a crack at it. It's darkest brown I had in my box. I didn't want to buy all these fancy colours. So basically, literally, I've gone and said, what have I got in my box? I'm painting my spider brown. I'll get a load of random browns out, going from darkest to lightest. So I'm wiping that paint off there. I'm not dry brushing because this isn't dry. But I'm now going to start picking up a bit more of another colour on this fangy browny stuff. So, and again, I'm not trying to cover that white. It's all going to get redone in different shades. By the time I've finished, I'll have been over it so many times. Be amazed if anything survives. But if you see something that you like early doors, try and preserve it. Yeah, you might fail. you know. Yeah, you might. Life's like that. I have to have it on these little hook things because of me wibbly wobbles. You don't have to have a hook thing. The wobbling also. So I've been talking to somebody today. I do work occasionally for NHS and people who talks for people who've got Parkinson's. Because it's not just bad enough that they've been diagnosed with Parkinson's. They then have to come and listen to me. as inflicted upon them by a well-meaning world. But when you look at a lot of people's videos about, oh, I've got Parkinson's, they're all dead miserable. They're all like pessimistic. Oh, you've got Parkinson's, you've had it. That's it, life's over. Well, I might argue my life began because I started doing things like this YouTube stuff 4 months ago. I'd never considered doing this. And I only considered doing it because I thought wargaming was finished, lost to me as a hobby. Certainly things like this, painting, thought you'd no chance. But I've discovered in various ways that it isn't. And I thought, well, other people might be interested in that. Might not be. I don't know. Trying to get into them little nooks and crannies. Right. Right, okay. So, that's him done to there. Now I'm going to put that away, because I'm not going to use that dark brown again. That was very dark. I don't need that again. Just trying to find inspiration. I'm really tempted to do all this bone. I've seen like underneath him here. It's almost like, look, he's got his legs very, very bony. I hadn't really intended to have any bony colours, but I think I'm going to. So let's just have a root. What have I got? That might be nice. What is that? Oh, Ushapti bone. I'm looking for a bone colour, and I thought that looked nice. It turns out it's got bone written on it. That's good, isn't it? So let's have a dip in here. I'm not even drying this off. I'm not drying it off because the spider is very wet. It's at this point you think, God, I hope the end product's nice. I'm looking at it, I think, oh wow, no one's going to believe this is going to be anything other than a total shambles. And then at the end of the video, it will be a total shambles. People are going to say, well, that were 20 minutes of my life wasted. Watching that clown. What's he doing? Oh, dear. At the end of them snippers. Right. There you go. I might just do in front of his face. Bosh. And then same with this little fella. These little chompers. I keep wanting to use like scientific terms. Mandibles. Then I realise I'm not 100% sure what a mandible is. I'm smudging all over, it's great. But because I've got Parkinson's, I can't, sort of in a way, can't help it. So I've two choices, really. I can like it, or I can lump it. Yeah, okay, I'm going to say that's okay. I'm going to say I'm happy with that. La 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 la. So, now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to have a proper super dry of my brush, mega dry. I'm going to dry that brush.